I can't read the screen. Bruh. Okay, the gimbal wants to die for some reason.
It's not steady.
I guess. Let's try and see what's going on with the pop-ups. Moderation helps everyone just close. Okay.
You need to flip it. You need to flip the camera.
Yeah, I know. It's being stupid again. But hey, guys. Here we go. Just trying to get the gimbal set up. Trying to make technology work for us. There's always seems to be a struggle in the beginning of our video podcast and whatever, but let's try and check it out. All right, so let's put it back on here. All right. Let's fall a little bit to that side. So let's scooch it over.
Okay.
Seems to be
There we go.
a little bit better.
I got 2 phones.
I feel like we should be able to cut this out.
One for the, I don't know the words, but shout out Kevin Gates.
One for the kids class, one for the general public. All right, man. I think we might be able to get it now. Getting there, Coach Clayton. All right. Let's see.
Oh, people. Hello.
Don't worry, guys. I'm not gonna just leave you Coach Clayton in all of his glory, but
Yeah.
trying.
Feet out, everything. Dogs out for everybody to see.
All right. All right, Lou. All right, homie. I think we're good to go.
Sweet.
Okay. Let me just go run and get the podcast fuel.
Make an espresso one for me. I don't think you hear me. I don't think he's gonna do it.
Oh, let's see. What do we got here? Oh.
Someone's still looking for names for the podcast.
What's up, Philip? So we're still looking for podcast name suggestions. Right now they're called the Coop Chronicles, and today we are going to be talking about why your kids should compete and why it should be mandatory over here but isn't. So yeah, and creating artificial. What is it? Artificial. What was the word?
Adversity. Of adversity.
Yeah. Creating artificial
let's
adversity.
do this right.
Okay.
All right. Is Instagram sideways? It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I guess this will be where we'll start. We are streaming from 3 different social media platforms. I think we got YouTube, we got Instagram, and Twitch.
Yep.
Sweet. So I don't even know what Twitch is. So let's get to it. So I'm Heath Henry. This is Clayton Abear. And we work at Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu, and this is our 2nd time doing this little post-roll podcast. The whole point of this little post-roll podcast, I know that name's taken. We're trying to find new names for this one, so if you guys have any suggestions, let us know.
So far, it's called the Coop Chronicles.
The Coop Chronicles, because this is a rooster fighting gamecock. We were going to go Warcock Chronicles, but it might be a little graphic for the children, but...
Yeah.
The idea is we want to give you guys kind of like some inside, the mat chats that happen after class, specifically after the advanced no-gi class that we have like Monday through Thursday, sometimes even on Friday here at Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu. So today we wanted to talk to you guys about competition for children, right? So in my opinion, and if money wasn't an option, competition would be mandatory for all jiu-jitsu students. That's a very unpopular opinion. Now, we don't have that policy here at Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu. We understand that, like, there's a... get that out of here. We understand that, like, everybody's a little different, and sometimes getting on the mat is a challenge in itself, because there's different levels of anxieties and everything they have these days. So what we wanted to do is kind of discuss why we feel competition should be mandatory and why we feel some people might think differently. But essentially it's all about accountability, if you ask me. So if you send your kids to school to get smarter, right, to get the skills that they would need in everyday life, like mathematics, literacy, things like that, social skills, whatever it may be. You send your kids to school to learn those things. But what if they never took the test? What if you guys, you pay all this money, for, let's say, tutoring, right? But your child never takes the test. Well, that's kind of like what you do when you put your kid in jiu-jitsu and they really love jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu is awesome. They're thriving in jiu-jitsu, but they never compete. So competition is kind of like the test. Now, do all kids pass the test?
No.
No. A lot of times, like I remember whenever I was first learning to read, I didn't like reading at all. I didn't really practice reading either, and that's probably went hand in hand. But I wanted to be able to read because I couldn't play the sports video games. I couldn't play the baseball game on regular Nintendo because you have to be able to read to get through the menus to actually play the game. It was crazy, but that was my reason for learning how to read. So like until there was an actually test put in front of me that I cared about, I didn't really learn the skills. So I didn't pass my reading test at first. I had to kind of learn how the tests work. I had to kind of put myself in the test, deal with the anxiety, and eventually I learned like how to implement those skills when it mattered. Maybe I could, maybe you can do jiu-jitsu in the comfort of your own home gym, but the reason most people learn jiu-jitsu is for self-defense. And if the only way you can do your superpower is when nobody's watching or you're in a certain place or setting, then you can't really do jiu-jitsu. And that's a reality that I think a lot of people don't want to face these days because they're worried about selling memberships and stuff. Don't get me wrong, we're worried about selling memberships. We are. That's how we eat. But the integrity of your art is a little bit more important. And sending children out in the world with real skills versus a false sense of security is not something Coach Clayton or I would like to take lightly. So the reason we urge children to compete is one, when you're young, you're essentially made of rubber, right? So like if something happens to where like you do fall down on the ground or whatever, it's not gonna be that serious. Most of the time when people get hurt in tournaments is because they don't want to tap or they were resisting a technique to the point like a throw or something to where they wanted to stop themselves from hitting the ground versus doing a break fall or whatever techniques were taught to keep them safe. So accidents do happen, but you can get hit in the head with a baseball when you're coming up to bat, and people don't talk about that. Concussions and CTEs rampant in football, but we don't talk about that. But going out in front of friends and family and having to do this,
God forbid.
God forbid.
God forbid.
God forbid. God forbid your parents have to see you do that too. Because I know every time the parents try something for the first time, they knock it out the park, right? Perfect every time.
No, they're worse than the kids.
No. What happened is nowadays people are used to anonymity from the internet and video games. You can fail over and over and over at a video game, curse the computer screen, throw your computer or your controller at the screen, throw your laptop against the wall, and that's all fine and dandy, right? But God forbid someone sees you fail at something that's really difficult in front of people, right? So competition takes the anonymity out of losing, right? So you have to be accountable for your actions. And it's not something you do right when you start. Some kids, yes, they're just getting after it. They might borderline be little bullies themselves, but they need to go compete. Some kids, they don't need to compete at first, but when you first start jiu-jitsu, the gym is not your comfort zone. The gym is like you coming out of your comfort zone. But eventually, after a while, you're not coming to a building that has a bunch of people trying to beat you up. You're coming to a building full of your friends and training partners, and it becomes your comfort zone. It becomes the place you want to be.
You almost lose a gear of wrestling. Like whenever you wrestle super hard, like some people don't lose that extra gear, but some people come here and they get really complacent, and it's like you come here, you're so comfortable now that you really forget, like you're learning a martial art to defend yourself from some meth head in a parking lot. And sometimes
or some jerk trying to steal your lunch money or your tablet.
Yeah.
At some sleepover or something, and some kids makes you want to do something you don't want to do. Your ability to say no has everything to do with your ability to enforce that. If you say no and someone can make you do it the whole time you're saying no, then your no doesn't really have any weight behind it, right? And I was learning this from one of our old women's instructor, Emma. So your no needs to have something behind it than just hopes and dreams. When our kids say no, they're in their stance, their hands are up, in a non-violent way, saying no, stop. And if things get pushed further, they know how to defend themselves from there. The anxiety and all that stuff when you first start jiu-jitsu, whenever that like goes down or dulls down and it ends up being your cool place to come hang out, you need to bring that anxiety back in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes we do that in games at the end of the class for kids. Sometimes we line them up and let them wrestle in front of their parents. When all that just becomes fun and you start becoming the top dog in those situations, well, now it's time to bring you to a tournament. Now, maybe not to like the world championships of kids, PANs, AGF, but like we do local affiliate tournaments all the time. And they're pretty cheap. I know some tournaments get to be like over $100 for one division, right? Yeah. Our local affiliate tournaments are like $40-50 for like double elimination, right? So that's crazy. I wish they had that whenever we're coming up. When we do tournaments over here at Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu, we normally do a mock in-house tournament for free for our students right before the open tournament that we do for our students, which we do charge for. But there's so much opportunity to compete these days that I just simply didn't have when I was coming up. And I think it was, not as scarce when Clayton was coming up, but we used to have to drive to Houston and, all over the place. And now it seems like every other month, if not every month, there's a tournament in Louisiana or if not in Lafayette. So with these opportunities are being more prevalent, more frequent. I was trying not to use that word as much, but more frequent. There's really no reason why you can't compete, especially with us having like in-house tournaments at our school. But I understand like sometimes it's an anxiety thing. And the worst thing I've ever heard, Clayton, is parents telling me, I don't want to send my child out there because I don't want them to embarrass them or myself.
We've actually heard that come out of parents' mouths.
Several. And we've had to explain. Sometimes we've been a little bit more successful with explaining this to the parents, but other times they just, they don't want to talk about it anymore. But we've realized a lot of times that's when the parents are living vicariously through their children. The kids are just coming over here to play fight, but the parents, want them to be world champions and win tournaments and stuff. Well, that comes in time. Not everybody wins tournaments like right when they go into it. A big part of jiu-jitsu competition is going out there and learning how to lose, learning how to deal with failure. Raise your hand if you like to go to the job interview you're not sure you're gonna get. No, that's scary. Is it scary to go ask that person that you kind of have a crush on out to a date or to have coffee or to maybe go study or whatever it may be? That takes some guts. That takes you being able to be in front of people and be willing to be embarrassed. And if you don't know how to deal with that, it's dealing with that for the first time as a young adult or an older kid. That's tough, man. If you haven't had those situations.
That also goes to the other side of the coin, where I've heard parents tell me, I let my kid decide what they want to do, and if they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. That works to a certain degree, because does your kid ever want to wash dishes? Does your kid ever want to study for their math test? Does your kid ever want to brush their freaking teeth?
Does your kid want to go to school every day? No. It was like, well, we're homeschooled. Yeah. Do you want to do your homeschool work every day? Probably not. If it was up to the kids, they'd wake up in the morning and eat candy and ice cream and, just play on the internet or on their tablets or whatever all day. Or, you can't let your kids dictate the rules. I was one of these very, libertarian or whatever you want to call it, people. But then, I started working with children and, now I have a child, so, Clayton works with children a little bit more than me at this point, but.
Well, I was a child recently, and then
yeah, same for me. I grew up real late.
Becoming an adult helped me, so I'm in a unique spot where I was a freaking kid for a long while, and then I started teaching children, and then now I have my own bills to pay and all that stuff. I have my own home and stuff like that. Now looking back, very recently on all the stuff my parents made me do and told me and forced me to do things I didn't want to do, it was to prepare me for my future. And shout out mom, shout out dad, thanks. But sometimes you're gonna have to push your kid to do something that they don't necessarily want to do. I feel like, especially getting them to realize, man, I'm gonna have to go do this thing that I really don't want to do but need to do. There's a difference between wanting to do and needing to do. Sometimes you really don't want to do that thing you need to do. Sometimes your kid doesn't want to go to 4 years of college to get a computer science degree so he can go, make video games for his dream company, stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes your kid doesn't want to go to wrestling practice or hockey practice, but you make them go anyway because you know that if you don't, they're going to be smoking weed or doing some type of delinquent shit with the kids down the street. Shout out, Mom. Appreciate you. Love you. But yeah, man, sometimes as parents or as role models or, coaches, we gotta push our kids or put our kids to the test, put them in situations that might be a little uncomfortable. That way they'll be better adept to deal with bigger metaphorical life situations later down the road. Like, guys, it's a jiu-jitsu tournament and they're going against other kids their own rank, their own size, their own age, for the most part. Sometimes they get mixed matched a little bit, but let's be honest, if your kid's defending themselves against a bully at school, one, they don't get to tap out. And two, it's gonna be scary. They might be outmatched. They might be bigger, stronger, smellier, and uglier, and they're still gonna have to defend themselves. The tournament gives them a situation to where it mimics the real life situation, but there's still insurance. You can still tap out. They will never make kids do anything they don't want to do that's gonna hurt them, right? But sometimes, like, you gotta make your kid go to school. You gotta make your kid eat their vegetables, or else they won't learn how to be responsible for their own biology. And like a lot of time, I think I'm hitting a lot of red flags and nerves for a lot of parents on this one, but I think there's like two sides of the parenting scale. One side, they want to make their kids do everything that they didn't do that made them the terrible person. Like they weren't the star football player, so they want their kid to be the star football player, And then there's the other side of the scale where their parents made them do everything and they hate them for it, so they don't make their kids do shit. So
well, it's just like freaking political ideologies. Too much on one side is always bad, no matter which side you're on. You gotta find somewhere in the middle.
Well, it's not politics aside. Balance in martial arts is kind of it rings true in everyday life. Also, you don't want to be too mean. You don't want to be too nice. The real sweet spot is somewhere normally in the middle. So you don't want to push your kids to do everything, but you need to push them to do some things that will merit them later on in life. Now, you don't want to let your kids dictate everything they do because they're children and they don't make the best decisions because they don't have a lot of experience in life. That's where you come in. You have the experience to guide them. Now, whether or not they're going to make the right decision or listen, whether or not they're going to, when you say the stove's hot, whether or not they're going to touch it to figure out, well, that goes on your child's personality. But, we don't require anyone to compete at Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu, but one thing we did talk about a while back is not everybody makes it to black belt. It's a sad reality. We all hope that every single one of our students would make the right choices to get to black belt, but not everybody makes it to black belt, and it should be that way. Ask Clayton how much he's beat his head against the wall or the floor from beneath me trying to figure out how he's going to get his black belt. This stuff doesn't come easy, but I would be doing him a disservice if I just gave him a black belt right now and him not have the skills to back it up.
Yeah.
If he goes out into a tournament or, God forbid, gets in a life test situation, he's like, "Oh, I'm a black belt, I have the skills," and come to find out he doesn't. Well, that's on me as his instructor. So what if he pays tuition? He doesn't. So what if he pays tuition, for 10 years straight? Would you rather me give you a fake diploma that where when you go to a job, you're not going to have the skills to do it? Or would you rather have the diploma that says, "Hey, I'm a master at this skill," and you be able to do the job? So criteria has gone way down when it comes to grading for both kids and adults, in my opinion, over the years. And I think it has to do with people like in my situation. We have bills to pay, and our bills are paid by how many people want to come and participate in your program. And
I think adults are actually a little bit better now because the access to information is a lot easier. I think it's the kids that are majorly suffering whenever it comes to ranks, and I think gyms are on 2 different pages of how to rank up their kids.
Everybody wants their kid to have a yellow belt until they finally get that yellow belt. You take them to the tournament and they got some kid that's been doing private lessons and shit with their coaches since they were 5 and wipes the mat with your kid's face because he was not ready for the rank. But you begged coach, he's been in all his classes. Well, he did his assessment. Well, sometimes the assessment is going to a tournament and see if you can really do the moves. Just because you can do the moves against one of your teammates who may or may not have said, "Hey, grab this right here," before your coach walked around, like that's just conceptual knowledge. And a lot of people are promoting people because of conceptual knowledge, but it's just a concept. We promote through applicable knowledge. If you can apply the techniques that we show you to a resisting opponent.
And that's where
people get lost. That's where people kind of fall off and like, well, wait, my kid did everything that kid did. It's like, well, yeah, but when they were training at the end of class, your kid was just sitting there mounted with a dumb look on their face, not knowing what to do. So a lot of times what fixes that problem when a parent comes and says, well, my kid did it. I was like, oh, he did? Okay. Hey, Junior, do a trap and roll right now. And they look at you with this dumb expression on their face. And I just mimic the same expression back to the parents like, so we're not trying to train people to do TikTok dances. We're not trying to train people to be able to look at something and then they do the same hand movements. That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is make sure your children know how to protect themselves or make sure you know how to protect yourself. If we sat here and did a women's self-defense seminar for an hour, let some women train some moves for 5 to 10 minutes each, and then send them on their way with a certificate saying, hey, you are a professional in self-defense. Well, one, we'd be like setting these women up for failure and probably putting them in very terrible situations. But if like a woman starts in our program and trains for like a year or 2 and eventually gets their blue belt, well, that's a legit skill. They've been put through the test. They've rolled with people. They've rolled with their instructors, and they've applied the knowledge that we've showed them. You can't get that just from like a crash course. I tell people all this time, it's not the Disney Channel. It's not the Karate Kid movie. You're not going to do a 3-month crash course and beat the black belt competition. You're not going to do the little adversity training montage where you're training a little bit and then you beat the bad guy at the end. That's not the way real life works. Sometimes that bad guy wipes your face through the mats, and you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to beat that dragon. A lot of people. Sorry, I don't mean to ramble. I know I'm rambling lots today, but third cup of coffee. Let's go.
It's I think what you're trying to get at is you need to feel like you need to learn what losing feels like. And a lot of kids, especially now, and I hate to say this word, but now in this generation that's coming up, like where they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, like those first couple of years of their life, like
You come in, CJ?
they're kind of
CJ.
they're kind of like there's not a lot of conflict or adversity going on in that life. So like it used to be.
It's all about
It used to be you're going outside, you're playing, you see that bug and you're like, man, can I pick that bug up? Maybe I shouldn't pick that bug up, and you have that conflict inside your head and jumping the coolie and stuff like that.
Well, should you pick the bug up? That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if it's a black widow?
Duh. That's the conflict.
So knowledge. You shouldn't throw your kid in the deep end of the pool without swimming lessons. You shouldn't tell your kid. I heard this one a lot. Well, go kick his ass. I heard that a lot growing up. If you don't kick his ass, you come back here, I'm gonna kick your ass. What?
That kid's supposed to know what.
They're throwing you in the deep end of the pool, no swimming lessons, and be like, if you drown, I'm gonna drown you.
I feel like
Like what? No.
kids don't even get in the pool anymore.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. So this is a big thing. I've been saying this for years, and sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
But the majority of Americans will not put them in a situation. Will not put themselves in a situation and try 100% if there's any chance that they will fail. So let me repeat that. Americans, the average American, will not put themselves in a situation where where there's any chance that they can fail if they try 100%, right? Now, that being said, they will put themselves in situations where they can fail and not try 100%, and they think that's okay. Let me give you an example, right? Playing it off, right? You're running, trying to be athletic, you fall, and you start doing push-ups like you're playing it off, right? Or you're not taking it seriously anymore, right? Get the fuck back up and keep running. You're in a race. 100%. Not, oh, I failed, so let's make people laugh. What are you doing? That's not championship mentality. That's I'd rather be the class clown than the class champion, which is okay. But that's not what we're teaching here. We're teaching, competitive mindset. We're teaching kids to be champions, at least in their heart, if not on paper, right? So learning to lose is the first step. Like you said, they need to learn to lose, but that's not the goal, learning to lose. The goal is to not fear losing. Because when you don't fear, CJ, when you don't give a shit about failing anymore, how far are you willing to go?
That's a dangerous person, man.
100%. If you've already been, if the guy in the bar has already been rejected by every girl in the bar, guess what he's not gonna be scared to go do in the next bar? Ask the hottest chick out, right? Yep. If you've lost every single jiu-jitsu competition that you've entered in the first year of jiu-jitsu, guess what you ain't scared to do no more? Losing. You ain't scared to lose no more. So guess what? Now you can focus on winning. But sometimes kids get so focused on winning and they don't know how to lose, they can never get past the fear of losing. They never take that first step. They never go for that first takedown because they're so afraid the bad things are going to happen. If you have experience and know what those bad things are, you're better adept to deal with them. But if you never go out there, I know I use the picking up a girl at the bar a lot, but you parents can relate to this, the kids might not, but maybe it's a job interview when they get older. A job interview is a good one too. Having confidence going into a job interview, you might not get a little bit of personality, and confidence goes a long way in situations like that. I know when people come into job interviews for me, they might be super qualified, but if we don't connect, if there's not good social skills there, you're probably not going to get hired.
Shit, how did I get hired?
Skills. An overabundance of skills. He works well with children. He doesn't touch the children.
It's kind of one that says you gotta learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Or the female students for that matter.
That's rule number one.
Rule number one. Don't touch the students. But anyway, so I would love to hear anyone's comments or discuss in the comments about any of this stuff. But in my opinion, I understand why people might not want their kids to compete. They got a lot of excuses, but unfortunately the excuses for children not competing in jiu-jitsu are a lot like, can't say asshole, they're a lot like poops, right? Everybody has them and they all stink. You could always just tap out. You could literally go out there, shake hands, knuckle bump. No, I'm scared. Done. Guess what? You lose. Nobody got hurt. No big deal. That's an option. Now you will look like a coward, but maybe that's where you're at right now. Maybe you pay the money just to see if you can step on the mat, you tap out and done. Maybe that's the biggest dragon you can handle right now. But eventually, you might be able to handle a bigger dragon. You slap hands and maybe pull guard and then tap out.
Exhibit A. I can't say this little girl's name, but we have this little girl who is amazing, great inspiration, and she's gone and competed 3 or 4 times, probably even more than that in her first couple of competitions. She didn't do too well at, she had a couple problems of her own to deal with and get over, but the fact that she's throwing herself at them head first, head on, going at them nonstop, and she does it over and over and over again. In her first couple of competitions, she lost in a couple seconds. But then recently, the most recent competition that she went to, it was an in-house tournament at a local gym, very cheap, very affordable, and she got a tap on a kid. She tapped the kid out. It was great.
You can use her first
so
name.
excited.
You're talking about Audra?
Yeah, Audra.
Okay, yeah, Audra. Shout out Audra. So this little girl first came to our program. Wasn't the fastest kid on the mat, but remembered every friggin' detail to every move. Every time, hey, what's the next step? She's raising her hand. She knows it. for about a year, probably. A year. She didn't win no matches. She went out there. Her mom was even like, "You think she's ready?" I was like, "She knows how to defend herself. She knows how to break fall. Let her give it a shot." And she's like, she wanted to compete. She wanted to get out there. She could have quit after her first couple competitions, but I shit you not, dude. When that little girl went out to that last competition we saw her at, and she grabbed that kid.
It was a boy, by the way.
Osoto Gari, Mount, Americana. We were all like grabbing our hair, screaming, dude.
We were cheering her on. It was great, and she's gonna remember that for the rest of her life.
You can't put a price on that. But also, if that little girl can go out there and do it, what's your excuse? What's your excuse? Okay, hey, let's play a game. You guys give me an excuse parents give to where their kids can't go compete, and I will tell you how it's bullshit.
Well, one of the things I hear the most is, well, I don't have time.
Time, okay? There are tournaments all the time now. Yeah. All right, if you can't make one weekend, you could probably make the next. What's another excuse? Or
babysitter. No excuse.
No babysitter. Here, check it out. We have the Kids Chaos Corner over here, so you can let your children at their own risk try and murder each other to their heart's content while your other kid competes over here. We're a family-friendly facility. All right, no babysitter. Let's move it on up. What else we got, Coach?
Let's see. I got work that day.
Work that day. Again, if there's a date conflict, there's other dates going on. We also do carpools for our classes. A lot of parents carpool because their parents work, other parents work. It can be happening. It can work. So dates not really an issue because they're all over all the time. What else you got?
We kind of touched on this excuse already. My child doesn't want to.
Okay. All right. Your child doesn't want to. Your child's not going to want to do a lot of stuff. Maybe figure out why your child doesn't want to, and we start addressing those issues. Like, what? Maybe I'm embarrassed. Okay, well, why are you embarrassed? Well, I don't think I'm going to do good. Well, maybe you need to practice more, right? What's another one? I don't want my kid to get embarrassed. Okay, well, if your kid never goes try new things, they will always probably get embarrassed when they try new things, and they won't try new things eventually because they're never good at anything, and you don't make them stick with anything, you know? Right. And I hate to say like attacking parents or anything, but this goes for adults with their own accountability too. Like if you don't ever put yourself in a situation where things are hard, you're not going to be able to deal with things that are hard. And when the smallest little thing in life knocks you back, like I don't know, maybe your girlfriend breaking up with you, or you lose your job or something, you're not going to be able to deal with that adversity. You might go on like some kind of self-destructive bender or something, but. Yeah, so what other excuses they got, you know? Most of the time I say you don't want your kid to get embarrassed is because the parents don't want to get embarrassed. But the parents also think that their kids are doing like the UFC professional and expect all of their kids to be black belts the first month of jiu-jitsu training.
My favorite one for adults is I don't want to get hurt. Bro, we just had a roll to death metal where we were literally trying to kill each other for 5 minutes straight, and you don't want to go and compete and just do it to some random stranger?
But he gonna try and hurt me. You gonna try and hurt him.
Yeah.
We do it every day.
So, yeah.
And that guy,
until they tap. Remember, that's the safety. That's what's beautiful about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is the only martial art where you can go 100%. And then you can just tap right before. You can't tap right before I punch you in the face. You can't train like that. But in jiu-jitsu, you can. You tap right before things get bad, and everybody's safe. We all can come to train next day. Other excuses are like finances. Dude, I get that. I get finances. A lot of these tournaments are pretty expensive, but the in-house tournaments that are available, also, Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu, we do sponsorships for some of our students. Our students that help, some of them that help us out with class, or some that do good things. We do have some parents that sometimes like pull together a pot to help kids that might not be able to go to tournaments pay for their registration or whatever, or GACs. So finances, I get it. That is a good excuse, but like we literally throw free tournaments for our students here. Yeah. So if you come to our school, or you have trouble paying registration fees. So hey, give me a holler. If you want to compete, we'll make it happen, right? Yeah, no excuses. What other excuses we got for people not wanting to compete?
I think that covers most of it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I had a conversation with one of our students not too long ago, and he was kind of wondering what does he need to do to move on to the next level? What does he need to kind of keep progressing? It's all skills, right? It's all skill set. You want to improve your skills. You want to get better at applying what you know on a resisting opponent. That's really what it comes down to. Now, there's different levels of that, right? Whenever I was a white belt, we kind of talked about like what is each belt when I thought I was a white belt versus what I think of each belt now. Well, a blue belt is somebody that has a very good, well-rounded understanding of jiu-jitsu. Like what jiu-jitsu is, what positions we're trying to get to, how to apply some submissions, how to do some takedowns. If you get taken down, how to get out of bad situations. The general that's what a blue belt is. Now, purple belt, that's a fucking killer. That's somebody that can make you hurt yourself. That makes you do things that causes them to be able to get better positions. A purple belt is an avid competitor, or you've been in it for a long time recreationally. Long time. All right? Purple belts are wizards. When they do jiu-jitsu, they trick people into doing stuff, and you're like, you think it's magic, right? A brown belt means that you are going to be a black belt. I have faith that you're going to be a black belt. It's a matter of time at that point. With that being said, going back to purple belt, you're essentially a black belt in any other martial arts as far as I'm concerned. Brown, as far as I'm concerned. I gave you your purple belt.
You know how to throw a punch. Okay, I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah. You're a killer, dude. You're not,
You will not get a purple belt if you don't even know how to throw a punch.
If you're a purple belt, like 90% of the people on the street shouldn't be able to beat your ass. Straight up. And you should be able to handle about 90% of the population, even if they are a little bit bigger than you.
How to defend the punch.
Yeah, you have to know how to defend punches and shit too. You have to know how to throw a punch. And that's not every lineage, man. That's not every lineage. I'm gonna just strictly talk about us and our opinions, right? It might be harder to get belts here. Don't care. I would rather your skills reflect your rank than your rank be an embarrassment to you behind your back.
That is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, to get a rank and then people are talking behind your back about how they don't think you deserve it. Like I hope I don't ever give out belts like that. And if I do, I hope my students that I gave the belt to smash the naysayers through the floor.
I've overheard shit talking like this, and I don't condone any of it, but I've heard it, and I've heard people say, "Man, I don't think that guy should be a purple belt or anything like that."
Yeah, they're comparing themselves, right?
Yeah, they are, and it's disgusting behavior, really. But people do it, and I would hate for any of my students or this facility students to have to overhear that and go through with that. And I hope people stop doing that shit. Just PSA. If you shit talk people behind their back, you're a pussy. Just saying.
You should definitely shit talk to them in mount or on the back while submitting them.
Yes, it's Ryan Abraham.
Yeah, like Ryan, good black belt, right? And that brings me to the last one, man. What is a black belt to you guys? Like what are your opinions when you first started? What is a black belt versus now? What is a black belt?
From what I was always taught, a black belt is just a white belt that never quit.
Dude.
Okay, white belt that never quit. After about a decade.
Purple, brown, and black belts. Most of the time, it varies between the different people. But like, if you have a black belt of the same weight and a brown belt of the same weight, most of the time, unless it's a very new brown belt, you have the same skill level. It's just the black belt's just been doing it for longer.
Experience.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if you're a brown belt looking to get your black belt, there's two ways. You can go to a tournament and smoke everybody at brown belt, and you can go to a no-gi tournament and win the pro division. Then you're kind of undeniable, right? But competition aside, black belt, unless you're an avid competitor, I'm looking for a lot more. I'm looking for your control of your own life, making sure you have control of your own life. I'm looking for someone that gives back to the art. I'm looking for
good exhibit. Ty Orgeron.
Yeah.
Ty Orgeron.
Ty
Love that
teaches
guy.
for free all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, like we make him charge sometimes. Like if he does a seminar, we're like, all right, how much you want to charge? He's like, no, man, no.
How about donations and we'll give it to charity?
That,
He's
that
like,
dude
"Hey."
is all about giving back to the
Yeah.
community.
Shout out to Ty, we appreciate you, man. A good role model for the rest of the martial arts community. So like if you're a brown belt and you're rolling in and out of bars chasing cheap pussy, you know, walking in here smelling like weed and alcohol in your breath, that's not exactly
that's not a good role.
that's not exactly black belt material. And I'm not talking about like open mat on Fridays or anything. I'm talking about like just basic classes. You know, you're showing up and you're not bringing 100% of yourself on the mats. Then why should we you know grade you on that? You could be doing so much more, and that's what we look for. That's what I look for in a black belt, and skills. Right? If you're smoking everybody, then it is what it is. But competition is it's the litmus test. It's you send your kid to summer school, but you don't let them take the test to get the grade. Then why the hell did you send them to summer school? Seems like a waste of time, right? Yeah. Honestly, if I'm sending my kid to a program, especially like a martial arts program, you bet your ass I'm putting my kid in the competition because I want to know if the $160 I'm spending every month is going to something that's worth it or not, right? You guys spend a lot of good money sending your kids to us. Don't you want to know if the stuff we're teaching them works? Don't you want to know if the no, stop messing with me has a little bit weight behind it than just hopes and dreams? I certainly hope you do. Now, I understand like competition isn't for everyone, but if you're like looking to get your gray and black belt as a kid or your yellow belt as a kid and you never competed, you're like 3 years in, what are you doing? You know, maybe try a little competition. Here's the thing, I don't care if you lose every single match. The point is you can go out there and defend yourself. It's self-defense, not self-offense. I could give a shit about how many medals you get. When you win, it's great. I pat you on the back, we take pictures, put you on the social medias, mom and dad give you ice cream after the tournament, whatever. But the skills you gain for preparing for the tournament, understanding that there's some kid out there or some other dude, and this goes for adults too, some other asshole out there training to beat your ass, that makes you come to practice with a little bit more drive, a little bit more determination. Your brain switches when you sign up for that tournament and you know you're going now, versus waiting to the last minute and then having to pay for late registration, and you know you always have that chance to pull out, so you're not training like you would have been. It's a mindset. If the bully says, "Hey, I'm gonna beat your butt," it's easy to get in the fight right there. But if the bully says, "Hey, you and me after school at 3 o'clock," there's a lot of anxiety that can happen between now and 3 o'clock. Just like there's a lot of anxiety that can happen between now and the tournament time. The tournament and these competitions are just micro doses of adversity that are safe for your child to digest at a time. If you just tell them to go beat the bully's ass, you're just throwing them in the deep end of the pool with no swimming lessons. I know I rambled a lot on this one.
That works. Don't get me wrong. That works for a certain type of kid, but
If you're a dog, it works because they instinctively doggy paddle. But your child might just be like, "I'm gonna drown to show you." I don't know.
Right.
Anything else to add, guys? Like I said, I know I talked a lot on this one, but this is kind of like a subject that I kind of hold close to the heart.
One thing that I do want to mention is
Stop telling your kids it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It does matter to a degree, okay? Because if your kid thinks,
oh, it doesn't matter if I win or lose as long as I have fun, right?
part of having fun is winning. It's more
Just
fun
trying
if
your
you win.
best.
Trying your best, of course.
So look, let's redefine that. It's not whether you win or lose; it's how you play the game. How you play the game. Okay, so are you trying 100%? Because if I'm trying 100% and I lose, I'm still proud of myself. And the worst thing that can happen is my coach or parents or someone saying, "Oh, bro, you should have did this. You should." Motherfucker, you think I don't know that? Like half these parents are clear belts telling their kids, "Oh, you should have did this." You think it's that fucking easy? We got adult classes for real. It's hard, man. This shit's hard. It's really hard, and it's even harder when you got people like barking down your back that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. and I say this in love. One of our blue belts, Jason Moret, he used to be the guy on the side of the mat barking orders at his son. And I was like, dude, why don't you stay for the next class? He did. And he shut the fuck up after that and actually ended up getting his blue belt within the year. There's so many things that you don't see or you don't know if you're on the sidelines. That's why we don't allow coaching from the sidelines. Like, unless you are a practitioner and you understand, you don't understand. I don't care how many videos you watch. I don't care how many times you sat on the side of the mat. You don't understand what it's like to have another person trying to smash you and you still have to fight to get out from underneath. All right? And I'm not talking about, oh, I got in fights in high school. I wrestled in high school. Like, how long ago was that? When's the last time you just sprinted for 20 yards?
When was the last time you did a couple push-ups?
Yeah, man, this shit's hard. This shit's hard. So, like, support your kids. Support yourself. Give your kids realistic goals. Look, hey, this is your first tournament. Like, I don't care if you win or not, but I do care if you try 100%. Go out there and defend yourself. If you go out there and get taken down mounted and you just fight to not let them submit you, that's a win, baby. That's what we're teaching these kids, to not get beat up. Not to beat up other people. Yeah, that's kind of cool that you can beat up other people, but that shit comes later.
Go out there and try to win. Don't just go out there because I told you to.
Go out there and fight. It's martial arts. Go out there and fight. Fight. And like in the beginning, like you kind of have to fight a little bit because you're not that much of an athlete. Once you become an athlete, you kind of understand when to fight, but it's all experience. If you don't go out there and figure out what it's really about, you're not going to really understand, and then your art's not going to be real. There's no accountability. There's no test, and if there's no accountability, then they lose integrity, and that's the one thing that we can't let happen, is let the integrity of jiu-jitsu fade into something like you know, some of these other watered down martial arts. Not to name any names, but we all know what happened to other martial arts when they become Americanized. So we're striving over here at Acadiana to not let that happen.
And another thing, it's like, okay, I got another excuse. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Well, I get that, but hear me out. When, like, no one likes taking a test. All right, I don't like competing, but I know I have to do it because honestly, it's part of my job description. If I don't take the test, I'm a phony coach.
Not a lot of people like going to work every day.
Exactly.
I like paying bills.
Exactly. So like, do it because it's hard. Like, there's a bunch of people out there saying, oh, you got to get in the sauna, and you know, following Joe Rogan, you got to get in the sauna, you got to get in the cold plunge to, you know, because you got to go and do something hard.
Well, look, this versus an adversity.
Yeah, this is something hard. So go do it.
Yeah, and it's safe too. Like it really is. It's pretty safe.
The bigger tournaments you get into, the more safe they become, because the bigger tournaments have more competitors and you're more defined into your division. So like, if you're normally the heavyweight that shows up and there's no one in your division, like in the bigger tournaments you'll have that. If you're normally the little skinny guy or girl that shows up and there's no one in your division, you always got to compete with the big baboons or whatever. Well, guess what? The bigger tournaments are going to have people in your division. So whatever your excuse may be, talk to your coaches and figure out, like, express your concerns, express your feelings, and you know, come up with a game plan to help get yourself to that level. Remember that the goal in martial arts is to be able to defend yourself in a real life, you know, physical altercation. So the best way to do that is to gradually mimic that to as close as you can get. And then, dude, when you're a 30-year-old black belt and you run out of stuff to challenge you with, maybe you'll go do an MMA fight. I mean, that's the only thing short of going and getting a bar fight that I can recommend. But
it's close to it.
You know, but not recommend going and getting a bar fight, and you definitely don't have to do an MMA fight to get your black belt. But competition definitely helps.
It definitely helps.
I tell people it's like, when competition in jiu-jitsu is like changing the oil in your car. You don't have to do it, but it helps.
Coming from someone who hates competition, it helps. It helps so much with your game. Like, I don't like to do it, but I go do it because I want to get better at jiu-jitsu and I want my freaking black belt. So, like,
so it's like cutting your grass. Sometimes you don't like cutting your grass because it's hot, you're sweating or whatever, but after you're done, you're happy you did it, right? you don't like cleaning your room, but you know, after you're done, you're happy you did it. Now you can go focus on other things. A lot of things we don't like to do, but once we do them, we realize this we're a lot better for it. The same thing people do like skydiving, right? Like scary. They act like they want to do it, but you're kind of scared. But after you've done it, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, what was I so scared about? I've never skydived. I personally think it's silly, but my wife has, and I've seen a bunch of videos. But like, it's about overcoming fear. It's about staring adversity in the face, understanding it to the best of your ability, and trying to conquer. And if that doesn't work, try and understand it a little bit more through experience, and then try again. Life isn't a linear. Well, which way we're going? A linear line to success. It has a lot of shortcomings and pitfalls and stuff like that. But the pursuit of excellence, right? The pursuit of perfection is excellence. So competition will definitely help. It is not mandatory. But it will take a little bit longer if you're just a recreational practitioner. The true way to say if you think you're ready for the next level or whatever, the best way to do that is to go compete and show your instructor firsthand. You know, they might be missing something on the mats.
We
in the
would
gym.
we would love to eat our words.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. We
We'd
would
love to
eat
prove
our
us
words.
wrong.
We like if we have a blue belt that comes up to us, is like, hey, I think I'm ready for my purple belt. When am I gonna get that? All right, go compete. And if they go compete and they clear house in like a 5 or 6 man division and they get first place, well, shoot, it's kind of undeniable at that point. Now you have proof. It's kind of like, you know, a debate at that point.
And since we've been having these talks, I just want to give it to our purple belts, man. They have been hungry lately over here. I am like shitting in my pants every time it comes to wrestle over here. Yeah, purple belts, you guys, like I said, man, since we've been having these talks, we're talking about, man, purple belts are killers. You guys really stepped up your game, really making us proud. We see you. We see you.
Like Coach Clinton said, it speaks to the product.
Product is the most important thing.
Yeah, like I've been saying, we're kind of far away to fit everybody in the picture, but we will go through the comments later and read everything and try and reply to everything we can. The idea is we're trying to build up our YouTube and Twitch and Instagram channels so you guys know who we are. We're having the Blurple Belt Invitational this month on the 24th. All you blue and purple belts, if you think you're the baddest in the land, go apply for the Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu Blurple Belt Invitational. It's $50 entry, which is pretty cheap, but we're gonna have cash prizes. We're also gonna have food and drinks and everything. We're gonna have spectators coming in so you guys can compete for some cash money. Also, sponsorship opportunities. We have sponsorship opportunities available. We're gonna be having banners up with the sponsors' names. We're gonna be shouting out during the matches. Sponsors, shout out to them. We'll be putting you guys all over our social media, and thanks for supporting us. And we have a platinum sponsorship available that's going to be hanging your banner center stage while the competition's going on. We're also going to be mentioning during the finals match all the platinum sponsors and everything. But anyway, go check our social media. All the information on that is on all of our platforms.
At Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. At Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu on Facebook. What's it on Twitch?
It's my personal page, so it's at Dubicus, DEWBICUS.
Well, I guess we're gonna need to get a business Twitch account. So yeah, guys, you can follow Coach Clayton on Twitch, Help His Gamer Channel or whatever that is. I don't really know anything about Twitch, but yeah,
I need a new PC.
Coach needs a new PC. Yeah, so hit us up, guys. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. We're still trying to figure out names, so if you have a good idea for the name, whether it's the Coop Chronicles or the Foul Talk or
Foul Talk is a good one too.
FOWL, like the birds. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time. Like and subscribe and all the stuff. Hit all the cool buttons at the bottom.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all on the mats
Later.
Peace. Oh, wait, I gotta do mine too. Oh, butt scooting at you. Scary, huh?
Share that. Your saved live videos are now reels? Oh, you want me to turn into a reel?
I'll do it. Fuck it.